Greetings, true believers, and welcome to another insightful episode of History of the Marvel Universe. Most Marvelites are at least passingly familiar with the origin of the original Captain America. In 1940, operating under the code name Professor Reinstein, the brilliant biochemist Dr. Abraham Erskine developed the serum which changed scrawny Steve Rogers into a super soldier. But soon after this, Erskine was assassinated by a Nazi agent, and the secrets of his formula died with him. Rogers, of course, took up the costumed identity of Captain America, and after the bombing of Pearl Harbor and the United States' induction into the Second World War, Rogers joined the fight in Europe against Axis forces. And of course, he wasn't the only one, as brave men across America also signed up to serve their country. One of these courageous individuals was a young African-American man named Isaiah Bradley. Born and raised in New York, Bradley married his true love Faith in 1940. 2 years later, he had joined the army so he could fight the good fight, leaving behind his pregnant wife. And while Isaiah was already no stranger to racism, he and his fellow black soldiers were subjected to unfair treatment and constant bigotry during their time at Camp Cathcart. Meanwhile, despite the death of Abraham Erskine, the Super Soldier Project continued in secret, with another scientist, Dr. Wilfred Nagel, taking over for Reinstein. As the new Reinstein, Nagel took 300 African-American Army recruits from Camp Cathcart, including Bradley, to use as test subjects for his super soldier serums. The major in charge of the camp was killed, along with every black soldier they were unable to bring, and the entire affair was covered up. Faith was told that her husband was killed in an explosion, leaving her to raise her daughter, Sarah Gale, by herself. Meanwhile, Bradley and the other captive men were subjected to inhumane experimentation, most of whom didn't survive. In the end, only a handful of men remained, some of which suffered from severe physical deformity. It seemed that Isaiah Bradley was their greatest success, and so he and the other 4 surviving super soldiers were shipped to Europe and unleashed on the German forces. While the team was successful in their first mission, 2 of them perished, and the others were disheartened to learn that the caravan they were sent to stop contained medical supplies and not weapons. And so, from the original 300, only Isaiah Bradley, Maurice Canfield, and Lucas Evans remained. A few months after this, in late 1942, these 3 were supposedly set to participate in a mission led by Captain America himself. However, a racist lieutenant named Philip Merritt provoked one of the men, Canfield, and he attacked in a blind rage. Bradley and Evans tried to calm their compatriot down, but Canfield had become overly aggressive as a result of the experimental serum. He injured Bradley and killed Evans before being shot and killed by Merritt. And so Isaiah Bradley was the only black super soldier left alive. Furthermore, Rogers was delayed in his arrival, leaving Bradley to take on an entire Nazi camp on his own in what was certain to be a suicide mission. However, much was at stake as the Germans were doing their own super soldier experiments in that very camp. And before being deployed on this dangerous task, Bradley took the costume that had been prepared for Steve Rogers, becoming a Captain America himself. He fought his way through the camp, destroying their files and facilities. And he also witnessed the unspeakable byproducts of the Nazis' twisted experimentation. He attempted to rescue the Jewish prisoners who were still alive, but everything went wrong when Bradley found himself locked within one of their gas chambers. Miraculously, Bradley survived, but he was captured and taken to Berlin, where he was interrogated by the Fuhrer himself. Adolf Hitler attempted to convince Bradley to turn on America and fight for the Axis instead. But despite everything it had done to him and those like him, Isaiah Bradley refused to turn on his country. And so the Nazis decided instead to send him to the notorious doctor Josef Mengele. Fortunately, while in transit, Bradley was rescued by German freedom fighters. Isaiah Bradley was finally shipped home to America, but In spite of everything he had sacrificed and endured, he was arrested and court-martialed for stealing the Captain America costume. Sentenced to life in prison, he spent 17 years in solitary confinement. His wife Faith could only see him 3 times a year, but she never gave up hope. She spent the years trying to get his case appealed, eventually writing directly to President Eisenhower, sending 1 letter every month for 3 years. Finally, on Eisenhower's last day in office, Isaiah was pardoned and released, and his family were sworn to secrecy. However, side effects from the super soldier serum combined with his lack of proper medical attention had caused his mind to deteriorate over the years. His intelligence and demeanor became not unlike that of a child, but he was finally home with his family. This eventually included his grandson Elijah Bradley, who later became the young Avenger known as Patriot. And this was not his only legacy, as his story became a myth among the African American community, the legend of the Black Captain America. He also had a son, a man named Josiah X, who was born from the sperm cells the army had harvested from Isaiah before they sterilized him. However, Steve Rogers did not learn about any of this until decades after the war, when he discovered the tattered remains of Bradley's costume in the possession of Philip Merritt, who had become a collector of such things. Launching a private investigation, Steve eventually spoke to Faith Bradley and learned everything there was to know about his contemporary. Naturally, much of what he was told shocked and horrified Rogers. And so the two Captain Americas met, and Steve apologized for everything Isaiah had been through, although he knew that nothing he said would ever be enough. One thing he could do, however, was give Bradley his costume back. And so our story ends, not with an epic showdown or with justice even being served, but with 2 men, one of which suffered and lost more than any man ever should. But both will forever be worthy of the name Captain America. And maybe one day America will be worthy of them. Hey guys, thank you so much for watching this video. If you enjoyed it, please leave a like, share the video, and subscribe for more Marvelous content. Be sure to leave a comment letting me know what Marvel hero or villain you want to hear about next, and as always, the issues referenced in this video are listed in the description below if you would like to read them for yourself, as well as links to other places you can find me, including my Patreon page, where for only $1 a month you can get your name in these special thanks. So until next time, true believers, Excelsior!